The first thing that you need to make sure that you do when confronted with an essay prompt is to make sure that you understand the question that is being asked. Reality check for you. You can write the absolute best essay in the world. If you do not answer the question that is being asked, you are still going to earn a 0 on the answer. You need to make sure that you are answering what the question is actually asking. So how do you make sure that you do that? How do you make sure that you're giving the reader exactly what he or she wants? Following, we're going to have 3 steps to make sure that you understand the question that's being asked. Step 1 is to read the question carefully. Sometimes students, when they're confronted with an essay prompt that looks a little bit long, will skim. It is really important that you read every word of the essay. I recommend actually reading it out loud to yourself, meaning reading it very quietly, or at least moving your lips along as you read. So, this essay prompt. In the novel, The Lord of the Rings, by William Golding, a group of boys are stranded on a remote island to fend for themselves. Compare/contrast this novel to the popular television show Survivor. Use specific details in your answer. Step 2. After you've read through the question carefully at least once, read through the question a second time, this time with a pencil or highlighter in your hand. I strongly recommend always using a highlighter when you have these. It really helps to bring attention to the question itself. But if you don't have a highlighter handy, you can always use a pencil or pen. And then step 3, as you read it through that second time, or even the third time, you're going to underline, circle, or highlight keywords in the question. When you do this, you're going to be looking for words that are directly related to the content or the criteria, such as specific details of things that they want to see in your response. So, if I were highlighting this question, I would first of all highlight novel, because the entire question is referencing a specific novel, which is The Lord of the Flies. So I would make sure that I highlighted that. I'm sure that in my essay I should reference the author. Usually we reference authors by last name, so I'm going to highlight that author's last name. Other key content points of this question includes that we're going to be focusing on the group of boys. So if there are other characters in the novel, it doesn't really matter as much as the fact that we're focusing in on this particular group. And we're focusing specifically on the fact that they're stranded on a remote island. Okay? Again, notice I haven't highlighted every single word. If I highlighted every word, it would be useless to highlight. Next thing I'm going to highlight is compare/contrast. That is a criteria term. It's exactly the format that I'm going to take. It's what the reader wants to see. So I'm not going to explain, I'm not going to persuade, I'm going to compare and contrast two things. And what am I comparing and contrasting it to? The television show Survivor. So that should be highlighted. Final piece of information that I need to highlight, specific details. I highlighted that because it is telling me very specifically that I need to include details in my answer. That is a piece of criteria, and so I highlighted that just to remind myself I need to do that in my response. So, some questions I would like you to answer about the video that you just watched, and you can turn these into the submission block. Make sure that you answer each question carefully. If you don't remember an answer, go back and rewatch this video again. As always, if you have questions, please contact me. Thanks!